Mr. Steigel.
Here.
Mr. Arcuri.
Here.
Mr. Ball.
Present.
Mr. Berquist.
Here.
Mr. Kozer.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from the September 28th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? In favor? Aye. Okay. Special reports. There are none. Okay. Audience comments.
We have two. The first is from Susan Pratt. I'm notifying you our political yard signs have been vandalized 4 times, with the most recent incident occurring last night at 8:14 p.m. This morning, my husband and I called the police. Officer Del Rey came immediately to our home. He was extremely nice and helpful. My husband emailed photos to Officer Del Rey, email account from our cameras. We have clear pictures of the people who trespassed on our property. We live on the same quiet street as Councilman David Ball. Please ask Council to issue a statement condemning the theft and vandalizing of political signs. The second comment is from Julie Cantrell from 446 East McMurray Road. Was the road construction crew given permission to start at 5:30 a.m.? This morning, the noise, backup beeping, was loud enough for me to hear inside my house. While I appreciate that the road will be done soon, I also need to sleep. Also, regarding political signs, I've had 3 stolen and 1 damaged. In addition to that, I've had liquid and trash thrown on them. I realize this is happening to other people, and that is happening to both political parties.
Okay. I will just say that it is a shame that the signs are being stolen, signs are being damaged. We've asked at a couple different meetings that people would cease and desist from this. It's childish, sophomoric. I really don't know what else to say about it. I know that we replaced many, many hundreds of signs, so it's happening all over.
In terms of the road construction,
Yeah.
I believe what she's referring to is the paving that occurred today on Rolling Hills Drive. I can't speak to whether or not permission was given for that, but that is before our hours.
Right.
It is before our hours?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think what's happening on many construction jobs is that they're firing up their equipment. You know, they're starting their engines, they're getting ready, they're moving equipment into position, and then possibly, beginning the actual construction at the right time, but the equipment's being moved around prior to that. They're not allowed to do anything until official start time.
What's the official start time? 6?
7 a.m.
I'm saying it started at 5:30, so I mean, it seems like an awful long time to warm up your equipment.
No, and we need to talk to the contractor.
I can't verify whether that's
Well, I mean, there was
valid or not.
they were doing road work on East McMurray Road, and then further down East McMurray Road, they were, trimming the trees along the power line at the same time. One time it took me at least 25 minutes to go through both of those road blockages. And I don't understand why they can't coordinate that.
Well, that I can understand because there's 2 separate contracts doing two separate things, but particularly when it's a contractor working for us, they need to abide by our construction work. So.
Yeah. Okay. Unfinished business. Request by Center Presbyterian Church for a departure from regulations contained in the Peters Township subdivision and land development ordinance.
So this topic was first broached with us when we were meeting with officials from the church concerning our need for a piece of right-of-way along Center Church Road for the relocation of the intersection. And the issue that the church has that's unrelated to that, but one that they would like to be able to resolve, is that there are 2 residential structures located on the back of their property that used to be there in support of the church, but no longer are used for that purpose. And what they would like to be able to do is to create 2 lots and sell off these residential structures. These are older structures. My guess is that if in fact there are 2 lots created, what will occur is that those structures will be torn down and that new homes will be built, but that's to be seen in the future. The problem they have is that Richards Drive is a private drive, and we do not permit subdivisions off of private drives. As you can see, there's already a home, well, actually 2 homes here in addition to these 2 that use Richards Drive. So to be able to do the subdivision, they would need a departure from regulations to allow for a subdivision along a private road. And I think the reason why the planning department and the planning commission and myself believe that this doesn't present a problem is that all it does is reflect what has happened on that property anyhow, and there would be no additional homes there. If in fact the property was subdivided, there would still only be 2 lots. So this is kind of the configuration of the property right now. This blue square in the center is actually a parcel of land where the church itself was located. This remaining parcel has these 2 homes, and it also has the cemetery back here. And what they want to do is realign the property so that the church and the cemetery are all in one parcel, then create these 2 lots. So,
Paul, are those 2 existing houses, are they exempt now from real estate taxes? Do they have any partial tax exemption or anything?
you know what? I don't know what the status of those would be. If you have to identify yourself.
Yeah. I'm Jim King. I'm chair of the Finance Committee of Center Church. Both of those properties are subject to tax in the township. Only the church is exempt.
Right.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, a structure has to be used for a
Right. For a religious purpose.
Right?
So where's the egress on,
Well, right now there's a driveway that comes across here and connects onto here.
you can't see it because of the
You can't see it
trees?
because of the trees. You can see kind of the stub of it here. See, it goes like this.
And that's a private road?
That's a private road.
Is it a minimum maintenance?
It's not a minimum maintenance road because the minimum maintenance roads we own. This is strictly a private right-of-way.
It would be good if they could somehow subdivide so that the driveway wouldn't have to be shared. But if you go over there, the topography really doesn't lend itself to creating that sort of a division.
Well, there's a note on the plan, and I actually think this is in their interest, that says if this structure here is torn down and a new structure is built, that this easement across this property is vacated, and that the driveway would be off of Richards Drive. And if someone actually, this is a fair-sized parcel of land. If somebody actually tears it down, they're going to build a larger home there, and there's no reason to impede access to this half-acre lot here.
So you're saying that if that happened, then they would have to put a new driveway in?
They would have to connect
Exclusively for that?
They would have to connect onto Richards Drive somewhere in here.
What about the homeowners, the existing homeowners? Do they have notice, and did they have any objection?
They had notice, but there was no objection.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the request by Center Presbyterian Church for a departure from regulations contained in the Peters Township subdivision and land development ordinance.
I'll second.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll also make a motion that we approve for recording purposes the Center Presbyterian Church subdivision plan number 1 as shown on drawings prepared by HMT and Associates dated October 6, 2020.
Second.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Center Presbyterian is moving ahead.
Was that subject to whatever?
Yep. Okay, new business. Resolution authorizing the distribution of municipal pension funds.
So each year, the township is in receipt of state aid for the purposes of offsetting costs for pensions. In 2020, the amount received was $551,469. This is similar to the amount that we received last year. The township's pension obligation far exceeds that and is estimated to be $1,190,800. What we propose is, as we have done in the last couple of years, that this money be allocated to offset the cost associated with the Peters Township Police Pension Program. And the reason why we do that is, quite frankly, it makes it easier for accounting, and which makes it easier when we get audited by the Auditor General. So it's my recommendation that Peters Township Council approve Resolution 10-120 that allocates the state aid to the Peters Township Police.
So moved.
Discussion? In favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Resolution authorizing the appropriate township officials to file a grant application to the Washington County Local Share Grant Program.
The local share program is coming up. We would like to be able to put together a grant application that would help offset some of the costs associated with the proposed Rolling Hills Aquatic Center. Specifically, what we would be doing is asking for $500,000. And what this would do is to hopefully offset the cost associated with the purchase of various aquatic structures and equipment that would be used for the pool.
Moved we adopt resolution number 10-02-20, authorizing the appropriate township officials to file a grant application to the Washington County Local Share Grant Program.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution adopting policies and procedures governing the Peters Township Youth Commission.
So this is the final step in a process that began back in April. In April 27, the council adopted an ordinance that amended the Code of Ordinance as it relates to the formation of the Youth Commission. Following that, on May 11th, the council adopted a resolution that amended the Peters Township Police Policy Manual to incorporate the changes that were contained in the ordinance. What this resolution does is adopt policies and procedures that will be used by the commission members themselves in terms of case acceptance, oversight, and management of juvenile offenders.
I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 10-0320, establishing policies and procedures governing the Peters Township Youth Commission, and I would also like to compliment the ones who scribed that, Kathy Skidmore-Daniel and Chrissy Grasso. It was a joint effort, but they were the primary writers.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution authorizing the appropriate township officials to enter into an agreement with the Washington County governing the distribution of CARES Fund.
So this is where it's going to get a little bit confusing, because the information with regards to the CARES Fund has been difficult to glean, and as we go through the agenda tonight, I can explain on each of these items. But the first item is an agreement with Washington County governing the distribution of the CARES Fund. So the CARES Act was adopted into law on March 27th. As part of that, there were funds set aside that were to eventually make it to counties. So this money ended up at the state. It was then transferred to the counties, and now the counties are left to administer it. In Washington County, they decided to take half of their funds and use them to assist private businesses. The other half of the funds that they are using to aid municipalities. And in the case of Peters Township, there was a general allocation of funds of $632,000. Now, what is required is that be used for items covered under the CARES Act. And as we get along further in the agenda, you'll see that's where this becomes a little bit tricky. But to be eligible to receive the funds, the township needs to adopt a resolution authorizing the appropriate township officials to enter into an agreement with Washington County. So the first step of the process is to authorize an individual to enter into that agreement.
Move we adopt resolution number 10-04-20, authorizing the appropriate township officials to enter into an agreement with Washington County governing the distribution of CARES funds.
Second.
Other discussion?
Just a clarification. Under conditions in the body of the agreement, the amount stated is different than the amount you identify in our report.
It's the amount that's in that agreement.
634, 670, 70.
Yes.
So that's the total.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be the accurate number. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So step one is taken care of. Now-
The second step, and this is something that will be prepared this week, is to submit a grant application identifying specific projects for which we are going to seek reimbursement. Now, that grant application isn't done yet, but what I would like council to do is to authorize us to be able to submit that grant agreement once it's completed to the county on behalf of Peters Township. So that would be the second act that would be required.
Move we adopt resolution number 10-05-20, authorizing the appropriate township officials to file a grant application to the Washington County COVID-19 Recovery Municipal Grant Program.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question, Paul. I noticed that there's a list of proposed projects, but on the prior resolution, it said that the projects must be undertaken and completed between March 1 and November 30th.
And that's,
Has anything been completed prior to the date
Yes.
that would qualify? And is it on this list?
um,
Because that would be a no-brainer.
well, yes.
We've already expended the funds, so
yes.
we just get it back.
Yeah, and that is part of what's going to be included. So like the COVID protection equipment, what we did not have, but to fill in the blank here, this 14, 15, and 16, there's about $116,000 in wages that can be reimbursed under this.
Okay.
So one of the things we're going to do as we go through this, we're going to try to explain to you those items which the county has now told us definitively will be reimbursed, and those that will not. So
We went through a list of stuff we talked about at the workshop, and a proposed list with county officials to make sure that they weren't going to, throw a flag on them. And
So you've
this
had
is-
that conversation already?
We've had the conversation, and
yeah. And I was going to say, with Dave's help, and he and I have got the county's attention, because one of the things that, my points to the county was, we need guidance now, because to be able to get these things ordered, purchased, and paid for by November 30th is extremely quick. And even today on the conversation, can we give you an answer on Tuesday or Wednesday of the week? And it's no, I need it for tonight because we're having a meeting. And so I think we have a pretty good understanding about what it is they're going to fund and what they're not going to fund. And as a result of that, there are actually a couple items on here tonight that we just don't want to take under consideration, but we can go through that.
I think I think the problem has been that on the part of some people that I don't think they understand completely how municipalities work. That we're not here every day. We don't work every day in a council forum. And while the administration is here, we council have to approve these things, and that only comes in certain increments of time. So,
I don't think they understand the bidding.
well,
Ordinarily would
we-
have to be done, advertisements and all of that. Fortunately, we passed that
emergency resolution.
An emergency back then,
Yeah.
so we can waive that. But there's probably a lot of municipalities that didn't even think of, or boroughs that didn't even think of doing that.
Oh, no, talking to our neighbors, everyone is struggling with this.
Yeah, it's
The way that
it's a problem, and I think that they, meaning the county, has come to some much better understanding now. And I think that Paul's done a really good job working with them, and I think we have so the list that we have is a pretty good list, and he's got Paul has some other comments, but anyhow, let's go through this part first.
And the thing that I will say in fairness to the county, what's different about the CARES Act than any other piece of federal legislation that you would normally see, there were very, very large sum of money that was allocated under the CARES Act. And normally, when these type of programs are done, they're followed with a regulatory process and rulemaking process that could take years. With regard to the CARES Act, because of the nature of what they were trying to deal with, there weren't any rules. And so everyone is sitting there confused or concerned, because one thing that the federal government has made clear is that if you guess wrong, you will repay us. And so everybody is hesitant not to guess wrong as to what is an eligible project.
So everybody is trying to do the best job they can, and we're just trying to fit it into the context. So anyhow.
Could I just ask a clarifying question regarding strategy? If we have a maximum number we're allowed to reimburse for or ask for reimbursement, will you submit over and above that in the idea that they would only award up to the maximum?
Yeah, what we're going to do is try to, with regard to salaries, because I think we still may have situations where people will be off, we will round that up and then provide documentation to the number that we can. So
Maximize the request.
Right.
Thank you.
So the first item that we
Did
would
we
like you
vote
to...
on that?
I don't think we
We
voted
didn't
on it
vote.
last.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
I
so
seconded the
we
motion.
seconded, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So E's taken care of. Now, award of a contract for the design of the HVA system for the Peters Township Library. Now we're talking about individual items.
So this was a project that was in the 2020 budget, but quite frankly, it was deferred as a result of the concern over the COVID impact on township finances. We have moved ahead with this and had a request for proposals. As you can see in your docket, we got numerous responses to this. McKim & Creed has worked for the township previously for the design of the HVAC system in the municipal building, including the boiler replacement. This project will involve a boiler replacement in the library. Part of the reason why it qualifies under the CARES Act is that we're going to be asking McKim & Creed to pay special attention to the air handling systems and also to look at the possibility of including in the design equipment designed to disinfect the air as it passes through the air handlers. It's my recommendation that Peters Township Council award a professional services contract in the amount of $31,800 to McKim & Creed for the design of an HVAC system.
So moved.
Moved and seconded in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next part is a award of a contract under COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing Program to Zoll Medical Corporation for the purchase of medical monitors and defibrillators.
So this is one of the areas where we've had discussions with the county with regard to this purchase. Our intention, as it was written in the docket, was to purchase 6 monitors and defibrillators and to have those available for the fire department as well as for the ambulance service. Because of the manner in which the ambulance service is incorporated, they are not able to receive any benefits through the CARES Act, which is kind of ironic in our case because of anybody who comes in contact with COVID patients on a regular basis, it's the ambulance service. But they are not an eligible recipient, nor are we allowed to hold on to the equipment in our name and allow them to use it. So that's not a possibility. These medical monitors and defibrillators will be placed on the fire apparatus and used as part of our ALS response to critical emergencies. These are the same type of monitor that is used by the ambulance service. And the good thing about that is when we go out to respond to a call, the leads that have been placed on the patient can just be transferred over when the ambulance service arrives. So it's going to be my recommendation that Peters Township Council approve the award of a contract to Zoll Medical Corporation under the COSTARS program for the purposes of 3 medical monitors and defibrillators in the amount of $139,364, and that the award of the contract be conditioned upon the receipt of all items and invoicing no later than November 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Okay, other discussion?
Just a clarifying question. There is also a maintenance contract included with that?
Yes,
Okay, great.
Why
Okay.
does this reflect 278,000?
Because it was for
because that would
6.
have included 3 for the ambulance service.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item is the award of a contract under COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing Program to Zoll Medical for purchase of touchless automated CPR system.
So these are 3 medical devices that work in conjunction with the monitors and defibrillators. What they allow the paramedic to do is to strap on a device onto a patient that provides touchless CPR, and it is that device is tied back into the monitor that provides the control to that piece of medical equipment. We're suggesting that council approve the award of a contract to Zoll Medical under the COSTARS program for the purchase of touchless automatic CPR systems in the amount of $42,660. And again, the award of the contract is conditioned upon receipt of all items and invoicing no later than November 30th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, other discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next item, award of a contract under the COSTARS Cooperative Purchasing Program to Zoll Medical Corporation for the purchase of automated external defibrillators.
We have a variety of external defibrillators throughout the township, and what this would do is to replace those. In addition, it would provide one additional one that can be used by the recreation department as they go out into the field and do recreational programs. Again, this is the intention is to have this expense reimbursed under the CARES Act. It's my recommendation that council approve award to Zoll Medical Corporation under the COSTARS program for the purchase of 16 automated external defibrillators in the amount of $36,032.12.
So
The
moved.
award be conditional upon receipt of all items and invoiced no later than November 30th.
So moved.
Other discussion?
Just a clarifying question. On the off chance we do not get them in time, can the contract be canceled?
I don't think there's going to be any problem getting them in time, but I talked to the
Okay.
sales rep and explained to them that this condition is going to show on their purchase order.
Okay.
So failure to deliver on time will mean that they have breached the contract.
Okay, because on the document there, it states 60 to 90 days.
And they understand this condition. In fact, one of the things she told me, she says, you be sure to write this onto the purchase order in bold, and it will cause our order to move up.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So this next item is actually an award of a professional services contract for the purchase of website services. This is in the 2020 budget. This is an item, although it has been allowed as a CARES expense elsewhere, Washington County's position that this website will not qualify under the CARES Act. But having said that, it is an item that's contained in the budget, and it's going to be my recommendation that we go ahead with this. The one thing that I have wrong is this amount. I have it down at $23,741. We had actually looked at a an enhancement to the site that would bring the price to $37,741.51. This is below the amount that was budgeted for this year. So it's my recommendation that Peters Township Council award a professional services contract for the purchase of website design and hosting services to Civic Plus in the amount of $37,741.51. This won't be reimbursed, so it doesn't matter when it occurs, but it will occur before that November 30th.
If it doesn't matter when it occurs, could we have a little bit more information about what this is going to do? Because right now,
Contained in the docket.
I see what's in the docket. I'm talking about, a little bit more detail about how users will interact, some of the other aspects that are causing it to be that amount of money.
Well, that, if you want, I can attempt to do that. I mean, what is in the docket is a fairly detailed description of the website package. I'm not quite sure what it is I would do that would give you more information than what's contained here.
For example, give me examples. You're talking about, I presume, having people apply for permits online, having people apply. Will this take over the recreational program?
This is not. This is intended to be the township's website. It would not take over the application for recreational programs. That would be linked back to this.
Can people pay taxes? What else can they do on this?
Well, what they're going to be able to do is interact with us in submitting forms and that. One of our goals would be to be able to do some of the simple permitting that's done for the planning department. This is not, it's Jordan Tax Service and Keystone Collection that handle tax collection. That isn't something that we control, so you would not be able to pay your taxes on this.
Will developers send in documents across this website?
You would not do subdivisions, you would not do land developments, those kind of things, because they're too complicated to be able to do this.
Well,
what you should be able to do with this is simple permits. So, things like special permits, fence permits. I would hope simple building permits you could do. But what you wouldn't be able to do is if you were doing a new home, I don't think that it's reasonable to expect that we're going to receive all those documents this way. What it's going to do is what you see on our current website. One of the things, if you look at our website, it's fairly dated in terms of its appearance and its functionality.
Well, I would agree that it needs updated. Will this result in any operational savings related to staff or document processing or things of that nature?
It's not going to really. It's not going to reduce any employee expense. I would hope, and having talked with other users of this, I hope our experience is theirs. I think it may be a little bit more straightforward in terms of how to update it, and so from that perspective, I'm hoping it's a little bit more user-friendly.
Okay. Well, those are all the things that when I read the information, I didn't know the answer to. So thank you for answering.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Well, I got a question. You don't think that the county's going to
Change
approve
them.
this, even though you think it's covered? Is there an appeal process?
My attempt's going to be to demonstrate to them where else this has been covered. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to get reimbursed. I just don't know that.
But we already budgeted it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what about the enhancement? We're not going to get the enhancement. You said
We are, because that number
Okay.
is less than what's budgeted.
All right.
The-
42.5.
Yeah.
All right,
And the total you think
All right.
is going to be 37.5?
Yeah.
I'll move that we award professional services contract for the purchase of website design and hosting services to Civic Plus in the amount of
$37,741.51.
that one.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Award of a professional services contract for the purchase of an emergency alert notification system.
This one is not in the budget, and I'm going to ask council to table this tonight so that we have a chance to work with the county to find out whether or not we can get them to.
Motion to table.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Award of a contract for the purchase and installation of an automated door system for the Community Recreation Center.
So this bid was taken and received after the docket went out. I know that Ryan had sent out an email to everyone. There's a copy of that report on your desk. So normally, given the size of this contract, we would be required to do this through a competitive bidding process, which would involve advertisements and sealed bids. On April 13th, Council approved a declaration of disaster emergency, and under the provisions of the declaration, the Council has the authority to waive or modify its normal purchasing procedure. So if in fact we're going to head with this, it would be a recognition on Council's part that we have modified the purchasing procedures to allow for the use of written competitive quotations as opposed to sealed bids. So one of the things, we had a design for this and reached out to 3 contractors to provide us pricing on this. As you can see, the low bidder is Freedom Enterprises at $79,800. Freedom Enterprises has done 2 previous projects for us. One, a renovation project inside of this building, and then they also did the renovation project, at least a portion of the work at the fire station. In both cases, I believe that they performed satisfactorily. It's going to be my recommendation that Council award a bid to Freedom Enterprises in the amount of $79,800. And again, the award of the contract be conditioned upon the completion of the work and billing no later than November 30th.
Go ahead.
No, good.
No, I was going to ask a
Go
question.
ahead, ask your question.
I assume, Mark, is this a fair price for that?
Mark actually wasn't involved.
No, you're asking the wrong guy. You would ask Ryan that question because Ryan did
the architect says.
Well, he's an engineer. Well, you know.
The engineers don't know everything.
Really? I don't know. I think Mr. Willis might take a little offense to that.
I take some offense, too.
The architect's initial estimate on this was about $85,000, so yes.
Okay, thank you. That's the question I had.
Right.
Frank, he's $20,000 cheaper than the
All right,
highest bid.
Move we award the contract for the purchase and installation of the automatic door system for the rec center under the conditions set forth by Mr. Lauer.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
I have a question for Mr. Jarosky. Freedom Enterprises did the fire station, but it was my understanding there were some issues with delays. Because we have a timeline that we have to meet.
I'd be fairly confident in it. They've actually worked with this particular door subcontractor just recently up in Cranberry. There were no delays. So I'd be very confident based on what they've done before. And their work in this building was done in a timely manner. I think, the issues in the fire station result from the fact that that space was being converted from a Meals on Wheels to an office, and there were some issues that were run into as a result of that.
Thank you for explaining.
Yep.
Okay. Other discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Award of a contract to purchase a Stryker Power Ambulance gurney and load equipment.
Well, actually, both items M and N would have involved the purchase of equipment on behalf of the ambulance service. Neither of these are going to be permitted, so I just don't think council ought to take any action with regard to them. So,
The fire department doesn't need one? I guess not.
no, because we don't have an ambulance.
We don't transport them.
So we're just going to strike those 2 items.
Let's buy an ambulance. And
Okay. All right. Moving onward, payroll and bills.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the pay report and accounts payable invoices. The majority of the larger checks are capital projects and equipment that was previously approved. Also, the pension fund obligations we just approved at this meeting. I move these be approved as submitted.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Correspondence, anything? No? Minutes of any of the other meetings? Anybody want to discuss any of those? Okay. Miscellaneous.
The only thing that's in here is the report that Mr. Grumming put together with regard to individuals' interest in remaining on boards. We have a couple people who are resigning, and we will begin hunting for replacements.
Could I make a comment about that? In the cable television board minutes, there was a comment asking whether we were going to look for another high school student on that board. That was kind of a new thing. She was an unofficial member, sort of a liaison. I don't know if council feels that they want to do that or not. Likewise, the student on environmental quality. I'm not sure whether that would be possible given the school situation with the COVID.
Well, I think both of them are, it should be fairly easy to get someone for cable television because there's a large group of kids who are involved in that as part of the curriculum. And I've asked Mr. Grumming to reach out to the advisor for the environmental quality.
Thank you.
Do we want to cover my miscellaneous item here?
I have letters there. Do you want to speak to that?
You want to speak to it? Well, I'll describe the situation.
Sure.
Saturday morning, we had a little situation in the township. Our police department received some credible information from the Sheriff's Department and Allegheny County Sheriff's Department that there was going to be a group of people moving from Allegheny County to, at that point, some unknown location given variously as the city of Washington and maybe Cannonsburg Lake. They were a caravan that was going to be escorted by the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department to the border of Washington County, and they had requested that the Washington County Sheriff's Department pick up the caravan at that point and escort them to wherever it was that they were going. In communication with our police department and the Washington County Sheriff's Department, the Washington County Sheriff's Department declined to pick up the escort. They said that they would put a unmarked car in the vicinity of this caravan just to maintain order, but that would be it. It was supposedly an event organized by some judge in Allegheny County, a judge nobody had heard of until we looked it up, and it turns out it's a magisterial judge. And all of which made zero sense, because why is a judge getting involved in a political activity? And we knew not where they were going. There was an event organized by the Peters Township Republican Committee at a location across from Giant Eagle going on at the same time, so there was a fair assumption that maybe they were headed down to disrupt an event like that, since they had asked specifically for directions to Cannonsburg Lake. Many communications back and forth between the two sheriff's department and our police department. Turns out that they finally announced, okay, yeah, they're on their way, and they arrived through Peters Township with the Allegheny County police cars, the sheriff's department cars, sirens and lights and everything else blaring away, running through lights. Annoyed our police department to no end, I can tell you that. And anyhow, they were going to Cannonsburg Lake to meet up with some additional cars to add to their caravan, and then they headed down to the city of Washington for some kind of a rally. I really don't know what it was. They left our area, but the Washington County Sheriff's Department had 3 of their deputies at the Peters Township Republican event to make sure that nothing happened there. Our police department had officers in the Giant Eagle parking lot overseeing the situation, make sure that nothing happened, and they were, of course, maintaining traffic on 19. The good news is that nothing happened, so it turned out to be a non-event, but it had all the potential of being a potentially serious event. You don't know what these people are planning to do. But what I would like to mention is that I happen to be involved listening to the radio communication back and forth between the various departments, and I will say that it was very efficient, very effective, and very professional. I would compliment and commend our police department, the Washington County Sheriff's Department, on their professionalism and their efficiency. They did a very nice job. Recognizing that, I would like to send a letter to the Sheriff's Department and to our police department thanking them for their efficient performance and recognizing the officers for doing a really good job. And I would ask council that they second such a letter.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? But the good part is it just gives you a lot of confidence that should something else happen that really and truly did result in a serious event, these guys are tuned into each other. They have their stuff together, and they'll be with us. So that's the good news.
How many vehicles were part of the caravan, or do we know?
I counted about 20, and they picked up, I think, about 8 or 10 at Cannonsburg Lake. So there probably was.
It's my understanding by the time that it left Peters Township, there were about 30 cars.
Yeah, I think there was about 30, and I'm told that they went down someplace in Washington and had a Section 8 housing rally or something like that. I really don't know, but I'm not hearing any great disruption down there, so I don't know what happened, but had the potential. A lot of horn honking and a lot of whatever. Okay.
I have one other thing under miscellaneous. Next Monday, we have a budget workshop. I have the packets for the budget workshop tonight, so before you leave, if you could take one, that will save us sending them out.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next agenda, any items anybody wants on there?
Mr. Ball, could I just make an amendment to a request I made? I asked if we could get a report from the Safety Committee giving us some information about EMR, training, things like that. Mr. Lauer shared with us at our budget meeting that the departments are all very busy because all of the work that was sort of in suspension during the quarantine is now moved on to the end of the year. So I would like to just say that I asked for it before the end of the year. I don't need that, but I think it would be something worth having if you can either include it in the annual report when you do it or at some point in the new year. So you're off the hook.
That would, well, actually Ryan's off the hook since he runs the
Okay, Ryan,
safety
you're off the hook.
Well, I had a question about the CARES projects.
Mhm.
Are we going to have enough to cover the $634,000?
Well, see, so under the short answer is I don't believe so, but, and there is a but. So one of the things that's happening this week, Chief McLaughlin's been invited to a meeting at North Strabane Fire Department, and there's going to be a presentation to the fire chiefs of money that has been set aside for offsetting salaries in the fire department. I would assume that very shortly there is going to be a similar request of the police chief, and there'll be money that's going to be used to set aside police salaries. I believe what is going to happen, and I don't have any reason, no one has said this, but I think you are going to find, as is happening in Butler County right now, there's going to be in the county, I believe there's going to have to be a second round of funds. And the clear and clean way of distributing this money is to offset salaries for police and fire. So one of the things I've been encouraged the county is to look at enhancing the amount of money that they have given that way. So I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but on November, I fully expect on November 30th that the vast majority of municipalities cannot meet the requirements under the CARES Act.
The reason I asked the question was is that how do we deal with that? I mean, I don't like to leave money on the table. And is there, since we're only meeting now, and we're not going to meet for like, say, another 2 weeks, is there a mechanism that if something else came up, that we could approve it without being actually at a public meeting?
Yeah, well, if we act, and Ryan and I are going to spend time trying to be creative once again, and we spent all last week trying to be creative. We do have the ability at like a budget workshop to advertise it as a meeting to take action on items. So we have a couple coming back to back where we'd be able to take action if we could.
That's my question.
I don't think the county has any intention of returning any money to the federal government.
Well, I know,
But what happens is that
I'd
they're
rather
going to...
get the 634 and then whatever they're going to give us the second round.
I know.
Well, to the township's benefit, and again, I credit Dave in part with this. The county's approach to this is that the distributions have been made based upon population, and given the size of Peters Township in Washington County, that's to our benefit. That's why that number is as large as it is.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, there's a lot of boroughs and municipalities that don't have a police force, so
Yes.
you can't base it on
Yes.
you can't base it on population if they don't have a police force. So,
I think that they will probably, I think, look at both paid and volunteer fire companies and stuff like that. So
okay,
I
just didn't want to leave money on the table.
We're doing our best on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very seldom that we get anything anyway.
That's right. That's right.
I'd have to presume that this council is very much distraught over the elimination of those ambulance services purchases. It just seems bizarre to me.
But in defense of the county, within the act, there is a prohibition to supply funds to organizations that are organized under 501c4s. And that's the way the ambulance service is set up. It's a 501c4 and is an extension of the VFW. There's not a separate organization. And as a result of that, that's why there is this prohibition. I think even the people of the county understand that the ambulance service directly provides, medical care in the community, but,
What about the sanitary authority? I mean, is there any basis for us to, since they're an authority of the township, is there anything that they could use that we could qualify for?
I think the CARES Act has this limited to municipalities or not-for-profits.
the CARE Act it's very, very, very specific.
No, I'm just asking.
I know.
Mr. Lauer, I had asked about if there was any money related to setting up people to work remotely from home. I know that AEC did a lot of work with us to get that set up. Are there any of their bills that can be submitted as part of that?
We can go back and look at it, but quite frankly, the bulk of that work occurred on Monday and Tuesday when they were here anyhow, and we were able to do that with very little effort. I quite frankly was surprised at how little effort it took to get those people off site.
Well, it was just a question. It was things related to setting up remote. So if you're trying to get to the number, I'm just trying to.
I know, like I said, Ryan and I will be working towards that.
Okay, do we have an executive session?
We do not.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Having no executive session, then we are adjourned.